Today I'd like to talk about rescue circles. It's something I do quite often here and abroad in development circles. And I also do private ones for people who have not got closure. To explain further what I mean by these, it's about grief and about not being able to say goodbye properly. There is a kind of grief that has no ending. When a body's never found, when a goodbye was never spoken, loss doesn't settle into the rhythm of mourning. It cycles. Psychologists call it ambiguous loss, and families often call it hell. And I have many families that come to me that just cannot understand why they're not moving on from bereavement. And they don't want to in one case, and in another case they do, because they're holding on to that moment of pain instead of remembering. But it is a living bereavement. Each morning begins with a question rather than a memory, and the mind tends to bargain with them. Maybe they survive, maybe they'll come home, maybe the door will open. And hope becomes a balm to soften and to heal the wound, but it can also become a blade that makes it even more raw again. For those left behind, time stretches strangely. There are birthdays and anniversaries. We all do that, don't we? All still observed, but with the ache of an empty chair. Some keep a light in the window, others set a place at the table, small rituals to keep connection alive, to stop that fear that love will fade into forgetfulness. In today's world, in towns scarred by war, people gathered for vigils, not loud ceremonies, just circles of silence, because that's the only thing they could do, hands clasped, breath held between prayer and memory, and they would speak the names loudly, calling as if they were calling them back. For many, these vigils weren't superstition, but survival. The act of remembering became a thread between worlds. The mother might close her eyes and see her son at 17, his hair wind-tossed, his laughter still in the room, and then decades would pass. Yet that 17-year-old image still stayed so vivid. People fear that if they stop remembering, the person will dissolve completely, their face, their voice, the way that they walked. So to keep the memory rehearsed, repainting the portrait again and again and again in their minds. But memory can become heavy when there's no closure. The energy of love has nowhere to go. It loops restless, like the spirit stories themselves. Dreams bring glimpses that feel both comforting and cruel. Of course, and then you wake up. Ambiguous loss leaves a psyche suspended. You can't grieve properly because a part of you still hopes, and you can't hope fully because a part of you already knows. So people create rituals, candles, vigils, letters never sent, to give shape to what can't be resolved. In many ways, these vigils are rescue circles of a kind, not only for spirits, but for the living hearts tethered to them. Each whispered name is both an invocation and release. Some tell of feeling a soft presence in those moments, a brush of warmth, a sudden calm, as though love itself answers back. Others simply feel lighter after the vigil, the burden of silence broken, and something that they could actually physically do. To remember is sacred, but so is the courage to let memory breathe. When the candle finally blows out, the darkness that follows is not emptiness, it's space. Space for the soul, seen or unseen, to move on. And it's from that space, the moment when sorrow softens into surrender, that the rescue circle begins, where love changes form, becoming light offered outward. So families light candles. They hold vigils, sometimes for years, and they whisper their names into the darkness. Come home, we remember you, we haven't forgotten. And in these vigils, the air grows thick with devotion. Hands tremble around photographs gone soft at the edges, and the fear is not only that the loved one is gone, but that they will be forgotten, that their faces will blur, that their voices will fade, that their laughter will no longer echo in the mind. So people keep the presence alive. There may be a favourite mug that still is in the cupboard, their coat still on the hook, letters folded and refolded until the paper thins. Every object becomes a vigil, a small rescue circle of remembrance. But memory can be heavy, and the body carries the ache. The mind repeats the moment of loss like an unfinished song. When there's no clear ending, people live between two worlds, the world of what is and the world of what might still be. The psyche can't complete its circle. So rituals become almost a medicine. Vigils become a prayer or a storytelling. It gives form to what the mind cannot solve. And maybe, in ways we don't fully understand, those vigils reach beyond us. Perhaps light, wherever it's offered, finds something in the dark. Perhaps a love that refuses to fade becomes a guidepost for any soul still searching. Modern spirit rescue circles often begin like this. A few people in stillness, each one holding on to an intention of peace on a piece of paper with a name, perhaps a description. No drama, no spectacle, just presence there. And then the leader might say, we call upon the light to reach all who wander in the shadows. May those who are lost remember their way home. And then something shifts. The room softens, the air feels alive, not eerie, but compassionate, as though the act of focus itself has weight and warmth. Some people describe seeing images of a soldier settling down his pack, or a young woman smiling through tears, a doorway opening to light. Others feel nothing, only a deep calm that lingers for days. Maybe it's imagination, maybe it's memory. Either way, it's healing. It's something that we can do. Love, when it's given freely, changes energy in the room, in the heart, and perhaps even beyond it. Rescue, then, isn't about control or power. It's about the person allowing. It's about reminding both the living and the departed that peace is still possible. As the circle closes, the leader thanks everyone, not just those present, but all who have been remembered. And there's a lightness in the air, a sense that something invisible has been understood. From a psychological view, rescue circles work because they create completion. Grief that was trapped in uncertainty finds movement through ritual. People who join often describe a physical change, shoulders relaxing, breath deepening, a sense that they finally said what they needed to say. When you ritualize emotion, you give it a story that can end. The nervous system stops looping, the heart can finally believe what the mind already knows. Perhaps what's being rescued is not just a soul, but the living human still holding on. And every whisper of go in peace releases the one who says it too. And so the story comes full circle, from absence to remembrance, from pain to peace. Whether we think of spirit rescue as energy, psychological, or prayer, the purpose is the same. It brings love where there was fear, and presence where there was silence. So maybe the real rescue circle is helping each other remember that love doesn't end, ever. It simply changes form. And when we light a candle for the missing, when we speak their name aloud, we're saying, you mattered. And every tear is precious. Every tear is saying, I still love you. And when we let that candle burn out, we're saying, you're free. So take a breath and think of someone you've lost, or someone the world has forgotten. Send them light and notice to how that same light begins to warm your own heart. Because in the end, every act of remembrance, every act of remembrance is a bridge, and every rescue is a return, for them and for us. Because in the end, every act of remembrance is a bridge, and every rescue is a return, for them and for us. I just thought I'd share this particular rescue circle that I did. I was asked to go over to a place in Yorkshire that had lots of different mills, and in the mills, obviously children were used for labour. And a lot of those children had been brought up from London on flat-topped carts, literally horse carts, brought up from London because they didn't have any parents, they were orphans, and they were purchased to go and work in the Yorkshire mills. And their job there was to clean out the cotton mill equipment. So sometimes they were underneath these machines and of course would be damaged or hurt or killed. But also they did very long working hours, very long days where they would have to stand. And a lot of the children got rickets because they weren't fed properly, and they obviously didn't allow their growing bodies to rest. So they developed rickets, and some of them died through broken limbs or from rickets itself. So a lot of children were disposed of in unconsecrated ground around the mills because they were literally a product that they purchased and used, abused, and would then dispose of. So I was asked to go to this particular area to do some clearing, to do a rescue circle. And when I'm a medium, as you know, and I was sitting there just literally settling down to communicate with whomever was there to speak with me. And I got this lady, she told me her name was called Mrs. Scattergood. And a very unusual name, but apparently it was a very usual name in the Victorian era. And she'd actually been working as a spiritualist healer. But now that she had died, she was on the other side, she was spirit. Her job was rescuing the children because she had lived and worked in this particular place, this particular town that I was doing some rescue circle work. So she told me that she'd been waiting for me, and she was very, very pleased that we had eventually communicated and connected, and that she wanted me to help her to allow these children to go into the light, because of course they were literally just dumped in unconsecrated ground. So we started up all of the normal procedure that I would do in opening up a circle. And when we were finished, or when we were in the midst of it, I got lots of different information. And she told me very much about herself. So we were able to reference work. We were doing a lot of reference work to find out the information that she gave, where she lived, the name of her husband, parts of her life that she disclosed to us. And of course, we were able to reference all of that and find all of that out and prove that this lady did exist. So that was really, really lovely. And she does work with my own rescue circle in my own home clinic. But what happened with this one is we had infrared cameras, as we always do, because we always film and record what is happening so that we can reference it afterwards. And we caught the most amazing evidence on film where you could see them queuing up as they were walking into, because they had been invited into the light in order to find their loved ones. Or quite often it would be spirit who would just want to help the children who are already on the other side of the veil, but they just want to be a part of our rescue circle. So they come in and they do help, and they welcome the children through, or the people through, or whomever it is. So we got some amazing footage of that, and I have put it in the footnotes if any of you would like to have a look. So doing rescue circles for me is very emotional. You get very sad, but you also become extremely joyous when you know that you're able to help them. And also, what a wonderful feeling it is to be teamed up with a lady in spirit world called Mrs. Scattergood. And we do work together. We do many, many rescue circles, because where I live in the north of England, there are many, many woolen mills, cotton mills, and all sorts of different mills where they would have used thousands of children over the decades to do all of the cleaning and the transportation. And of course, those little souls were there with no recognition, and now of course they have. So that is one of the parts of my work that I absolutely love doing. So I just thought I'd share. Thank you so much for joining me today. This podcast is free to listen to, and if you'd like to help me keep creating it, you can support the show through my Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Every bit of support means the world. And if you'd like to go deeper into your own journey, come and visit me at margaretdepetro.com. You'll find ways to book tarot readings with me, courses, Reiki and healing appointments, meditations, and lots more waiting for you there. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep walking your own beautiful path.